Emma Carter stared at her reflection in the dimly lit airport restroom of LAX, sighing as she ran her fingers through her wavy chestnut hair, trying to make herself look at least somewhat presentable. The harsh fluorescent lighting did her no favors, accentuating the exhaustion etched into her pale face. The dark circles under her hazel eyes were evidence of weeks spent juggling double shifts at Westwood Cafe, barely scraping by to support her 6-year-old son Oliver. Her hands trembled slightly as she splashed cold water onto her face, willing herself to stay awake. She had no choice. She couldn't afford to miss this flight, not when the pull from her Aunt Linda had shattered her world 2 nights ago. "Emma, you need to come now," Linda's voice had cracked over the phone. "Your mother, she's not doing well. The doctors say it could be any day now." That call had hit her like a freight train. Her mother, Carol Carter, had always been her rock, even when life had been merciless. Emma had spent the past few years trying to build a stable life for Oliver, but in the process she had been too late to visit her mother back in New York. Now she was boarding a last-minute flight, praying she would make it in time. The only reason she could even afford the ticket was Linda's generosity. Emma could never have come up with the money herself, not with rent overdue and Oliver's school fees looming like a storm cloud. This morning's goodbye with Oliver had nearly broken her. He had clung to her like a lifeline, his small hands gripping the sleeves of her worn denim jacket. "Mommy, why can't I come with you?" His big brown eyes had glistened with tears. "I don't want you to go." Emma had forced herself to smile, kneeling down and kissing his forehead. "Baby, I promise I'll call you every day, and I'll bring you back something super special from New York, okay?" It had been a lie, but she needed him to feel safe. What she hadn't told him was that she didn't even know if she would be coming back the same person. Because if her mother didn't make it, nothing would ever be the same again. Her ex, David, had been standing in the doorway, arms crossed, his expression unreadable. Their relationship had ended on a sour note 2 years ago, and though they were civil for Oliver's sake, there was still thick tension between them. "I'll take care of him," David had said gruffly, as if reading her mind. Emma had nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. No matter how complicated their past was, she had no choice but to trust him now. Final boarding call for Flight 7A to New York City. The announcement over the speakers jolted her back to reality. She grabbed her battered leather handbag and sprinted through the terminal, her scuffed sneakers pounding against the polished floor. She barely made it to the gate before the attendant was about to close the doors. "Wait, please," she gasped, holding out her boarding pass. The attendant's stern expression softened slightly as she scanned the ticket. "Go ahead, hun. Seat 14C. Emma hurried down the jet bridge, her heart hammering as she entered the plane. She took a shaky breath, scanning the row numbers. Row 14. She froze. Sitting in the window seat beside hers was a man who looked like he had stepped straight out of a business magazine. His tailored charcoal suit fit him flawlessly. His crisp white shirt was open at the collar, just enough to hint at a lean, muscular frame. His dark hair was neatly styled, but it was the sharp, emerald green eyes that caught her off guard. He was reading a leather-bound book, his fingers effortlessly turning the pages. As Emma struggled to hoist her carry-on into the overhead compartment, his gaze lifted. The moment their eyes met, something in his expression shifted. Without a word, he stood in one fluid, effortless motion and took the bag from her hands, lifting it into the compartment as if it weighed nothing. "Let me help," he said, his voice smooth, carrying a slight British accent. Emma's breath caught in her throat. She wasn't used to kindness from strangers, especially not from men who looked like they belonged in penthouse suites, not cramped economy-class seats. "Thank you," she murmured, sliding into her seat awkwardly. He resumed reading, but Emma could still feel his presence beside her. A quiet strength, both intimidating and oddly comforting. She tried to focus on the view outside the window as the plane taxied down the runway, but the weight of exhaustion was too much. Her body betrayed her. Her eyelids grew impossibly heavy. She tried to fight it, tried to stay awake. But the last thing she remembered was the sound of the plane taking off and the warmth of something solid beside her as her head gently tilted to the side. Emma didn't know how long she had been asleep, but when she finally stirred, she realized with absolute horror that she had been using the stranger's shoulder as a pillow. She shot upright, her face flushing with deep mortification. "Oh my God," she gasped, yanking away as his expensive suit jacket slid off her shoulders. The man turned to her with a calm, unreadable expression. But then, to her utter disbelief, he smiled. Not a smirk, not an amused grin, but a genuine warm smile that sent a strange flutter through her chest. You needed the rest, he said simply, as if having a complete stranger drool on him for hours was the most natural thing in the world. Before she could even think of how to respond, he pressed the call button above their seats. A flight attendant appeared almost immediately, her gaze flicking between them with knowing curiosity. Could we have some water, please? He asked smoothly. Emma blinked. I can get my own water. I know, he said, tilting his head slightly, his green eyes glinting with something unreadable. But I don't mind. And just like that, Emma Carter's world shifted in ways she never expected. If you're loving the story so far, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up. It helps us create more amazing content for you. Push that pin, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next part of this unforgettable story. Emma clutched the suit jacket in her lap, her fingers gripping the fine fabric as she struggled to regain her composure. The warmth from where it had draped over her still lingered on her skin, making her feel strangely protected, even though the situation was deeply mortifying. I really am sorry, she said again, clearing her throat. I didn't mean to invade your space like that. The man who had so effortlessly let her sleep on his shoulder studied her for a moment. His sharp green eyes held no hint of irritation, just calm amusement. Calm? I already told you, he said, his voice smooth. It's fine. You looked exhausted. His British accent gave his words an effortless elegance, as if everything he said was meant to be comforting. Emma had no idea how to respond. As if sensing her discomfort, he extended a hand toward her. Liam Callahan, he introduced himself. His name caught her off guard. She had expected something different, something even more intimidating. Emma hesitated before shaking his hand. His palm was warm, his grip firm yet gentle, radiating quiet strength. Emma Carter, she said, forcing a small smile. Emma, he repeated, as if tasting her name. Nice to meet you. She nodded, suddenly aware of how ordinary she must look, sitting beside him, her faded jeans, worn-out sweater, and scuffed sneakers in stark contrast to his tailored suit, pristine dress shirt, and expensive watch. So, Liam, he leaned back slightly, heading to New York for business or pleasure? Emma let out a humorless laugh. Neither. Liam raised a brow but didn't push. The flight attendant returned with 2 bottles of water, offering Liam a smile that was just a bit too warm. Here you go, Mr. Callahan, she said sweetly, then turned to Emma. Miss. Emma caught the subtle change in tone but ignored it. Thank you, she murmured, twisting the cap off her bottle and taking a sip. Do you fly this route often? She asked, realizing she knew nothing about the man beside her. Liam exhaled a soft chuckle. More times than I care to admit. Work keeps me in the air more than on the ground. What kind of work? There was a brief pause, barely noticeable. Business consulting, he said smoothly. Mainly international markets. Emma frowned slightly. It sounded vague, purposefully vague. That explains the suit, she teased lightly, trying to ease her nerves. Liam smirked. And what about you? What brings you to New York? Emma hesitated, gripping her water bottle a little tighter. Family emergency, she admitted, her voice quieter. Liam's expression shifted. The amusement faded into something softer. I'm sorry, he said sincerely. Emma forced a smile. It's okay, just hoping I get there in time. He didn't ask anything further, which she appreciated. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, the low hum of the plane filling the space between them. Outside the window, the sky was an endless stretch of darkness dotted with faint stars. Emma hadn't expected this flight to be anything more than a stressful necessity. She certainly hadn't expected to meet someone like Liam Callahan, and she had no idea just how much the stranger was about to change her life. Emma stood outside the grand ballroom, heart pounding. The chandeliers glowed like stars. The polished floors gleamed, and the air buzzed with quiet conversations in hushed, elegant tones. This wasn't her world. But then she saw him. Liam stood near the bar, looking completely at ease in a black tux, his emerald green eyes flickering with something unreadable. When he spotted her, Emma swallowed hard. She should have said no. She should have walked away. But now it was far too late. Emma took a deep breath, willing her nerves to settle. She had spent years telling herself she didn't belong in places like this. Grand ballrooms, designer gowns, champagne toasts that cost more than her rent, and yet Liam Callahan had dragged her right into it. He moved toward her with that effortless confidence, his emerald eyes scanning her from head to toe. "You look stunning," he said. Emma swallowed. He looked dangerous, not in a physical way, but in the way a man could wreck your life without even trying. "This is insane," she muttered. "A little," Liam admitted, smirking. "But you're here, so I must have done something right." Emma rolled her eyes. "Remind me why I agreed to this." "Because you secretly enjoy spending time with me," Liam said easily. Emma scoffed. "Keep dreaming, Callahan." But Liam just laughed, the deep, rich sound sending something warm through her chest. For the first time that night, Emma wasn't nervous anymore. The gala was exactly what Emma expected. Rich people in designer clothes networking over overpriced drinks, pretending to care about the charity they were funding. She sipped her champagne, listening as Liam made effortless small talk with a senator's wife. He was a master at this, reading the room, making people feel like they were the most important person there. Emma realized Liam Callahan could get anything he wanted just by asking for it. "You're staring," Liam murmured suddenly, his lips curving as he turned to face her. Emma flushed. "I was just thinking how exhausting it must be to be you," she said, taking another sip of her drink. Liam chuckled. "Careful, Carter. You almost sound like you care." Emma rolled her eyes. "Let's not get carried away." Liam leaned in slightly, his voice dropping just for her. Too late. Emma's breath hitched. For a moment, just a moment, it felt like the entire room had disappeared. Emma had just excused herself to the restroom when she heard her name. "Emma Carter, right?" She turned, finding herself face to face with a woman in a blood-red gown, sleek dark hair and a sharp, knowing smile. Emma frowned. "Yes." The woman tilted her head. "I'm surprised. Liam usually keeps things separate." Emma's stomach tightened. "I'm sorry, do we know each other?" The woman smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "I'm Vanessa Caldwell," she said smoothly, "and I know Liam very well." Emma went very still. "Let me guess," Vanessa continued. "He hasn't told you anything about me." Emma wasn't sure what she hated more, the way Vanessa said it so casually, or the fact that she might be right. When Emma found Liam again, he was speaking with another guest, but the second he saw her expression, his entire demeanor shifted. "What happened?" he asked immediately, guiding her toward a quieter corner of the room. Emma crossed her arms. "Who is Vanessa Caldwell?" Liam's jaw tightened. That was all the confirmation she needed. "So she's not just some random woman at this party?" Emma said flatly. Liam sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "She's my ex-fiancée." Emma stared. "Your what?" "It was a long time ago," Liam said carefully. "And you weren't going to mention it?" Liam exhaled sharply. "Emma, she's not important." "She seemed pretty important when she was warning me about you." Liam's eyes darkened. "What did she say?" Emma hesitated. "Just that you usually keep things separate." Liam's jaw clenched. "That sounds like Vanessa." Emma narrowed her eyes. "Liam, be honest with me. Am I walking into something I shouldn't?" Liam held her gaze. "No," he said, his voice steady. Emma wasn't sure if she believed him, but by the time the night was over, she knew one thing for sure. Liam Callahan had secrets, and if she wasn't careful, she was going to get caught in them. Emma's mind wouldn't stop spinning. The ride home from the gala had been silent. Too silent. Liam hadn't pushed her to talk, but she could feel it. The shift, the weight of what Vanessa had said. And now, lying in bed hours later, Emma stared at the ceiling, her thoughts tangled. What if Vanessa was right? What if Liam was the type of man who kept things separate? And worse, what if she was just another temporary distraction? Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Emma reached for it, her pulse quickening. "Liam, couldn't sleep either, huh?" Emma exhaled, staring at the words. Then, against her better judgment, she typed back. "Emma, too much on my mind." "Liam, I'll take the blame for that." Emma hesitated before replying. "Emma, am I making a mistake, Liam?" A long pause, then. "Liam, no." "Emma, are you sure?" Another pause, then. "Liam, ask me that again in person." Emma's stomach tightened, because deep down she knew this wasn't over, not even close. The next morning, Emma walked into the office feeling different. Everything at Callahan Media was just as chaotic as usual. Phones ringing, reporters chasing deadlines, the scent of burnt coffee hanging in the air. But Emma wasn't focused on work. She was focused on Liam. So when she got a text from him that afternoon telling her to meet him at his office, she didn't hesitate. But the second she stepped inside, she knew something was off. Liam stood by the window, hands in his pockets, tense in a way she'd never seen before. "Emma," he said, turning to face her. "Liam." A beat of silence, then, "Vanessa wasn't wrong," Liam admitted. Emma's stomach dropped. "So you do keep things separate," she said, voice careful. Liam exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "I used to," he said. "With Vanessa, with everyone before her. It was easier that way." "And now?" Liam's gaze locked onto hers. "Now I don't want to keep you separate from anything." Emma's heart pounded, because this was the moment that could break her. Emma could have walked away. She could have told Liam she didn't trust him, that she couldn't risk getting hurt. But instead, she stepped closer. "Then prove it." Liam held her gaze. "How?" Emma's pulse thundered. "Let me in." Silence stretched between them. Then Liam reached out, gently tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "All right, Carter," he murmured. "Let's see how this goes." And just like that, she knew she was in far too deep. Liam Callahan was a man who thrived on control. Every part of his life was carefully curated. No loose ends, no unnecessary attachments, no chaos. But Emma Carter, she was calm, not in a reckless way, but in a way that unraveled him. She challenged him. She made him question things he'd never questioned before. And now, standing in his office with her eyes searching his like she was waiting for him to prove himself, Liam realized something terrifying. He wanted to. For the first time in his life, he wanted to let someone in. "All right," he said, his voice low. "No more walls. No more keeping things separate." Emma studied him. "You mean that?" Liam nodded. "Yeah, you do." Emma exhaled, crossing her arms. "Then start by telling me the truth about Vanessa." Liam stiffened. Of course she went straight for the hardest part. Liam turned away, running a hand over his jaw. "It ended years ago," he said, "but it wasn't clean. She didn't take it well." Emma raised a brow. "Did you break her heart, Callahan?" Liam let out a dry laugh. "I think she broke her own." Emma frowned. "What does that mean?" Liam hesitated, then sighed. "Vanessa and I were never what people thought we were. It was calculated, a business arrangement more than anything else. Our families pushed us together, and for a while it made sense. Until," Liam's jaw tightened, "until I realized I couldn't love her the way she wanted me to." Emma's heart twisted, because suddenly she understood. Vanessa wasn't just an ex. She was a reminder of the man Liam used to be, of the man who kept things separate because it was easier than feeling anything real. "And me?" Emma asked, voice quiet. "What am I?" Liam turned back to her. "The one thing I never saw coming." Emma swallowed hard, because that was dangerous. That night, Emma sat alone in her apartment, playing Liam's words in her head. "The one thing I never saw coming." It should have made her feel safe, but instead it made her feel like she was walking a tightrope with no safety net. Her phone buzzed. "Liam, can I see you?" Emma hesitated. She should say no. She should take a step back before this got even more complicated. But instead she typed back, "Emma, yeah." And just like that, she knew she was falling, and there was no stopping it now. Liam showed up at her door less than 20 minutes later. He didn't hesitate, didn't wait for an invitation. He just stepped inside, took one look at her, and closed the space between them. "I don't do this," he murmured. "I don't chase people, Emma." Emma's heart pounded. "Then why are you here?" Liam exhaled sharply. "Because I can't stay away." And then he kissed her. It wasn't soft, it wasn't tentative. It was everything unsaid, everything unspoken, everything building between them since that flight. And for the first time in a long time, Emma didn't think, she just let herself fall. Emma woke up to sunlight streaming through her window and the unmistakable scent of Liam lingering on her sheets. She blinked, disoriented for a moment, and then it all came rushing back. The kiss, the way he had pressed her against the door, his hands firm but careful, the way he had whispered her name like it meant something. But they hadn't crossed that line. Liam had kissed her like a man who was used to control but was quickly losing it, and then somehow they had ended up on her couch, talking about work, about Oliver, about the kind of man Liam wanted to be, but wasn't sure he knew how. At some point they had fallen asleep, tangled together like they had done this 1,000 times before. Now Emma sat up, heart pounding, as she glanced toward the other side of the couch. It was empty. Her stomach twisted. Had he left? She barely had time to process that thought before the smell of coffee hit her. And then Liam walked back into the room, shirt unbuttoned at the top, 2 coffee cups in hand. "You're awake," he said, handing her a cup like it was the most normal thing in the world. Emma stared at him. "You made coffee." Liam smirked. I'm capable of basic human tasks, Carter. Emma huffed a laugh. Could have fooled me. Liam chuckled, settling onto the couch beside her. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then, are you going to run? Liam didn't hesitate. No. And just like that, Emma realized she was in real trouble. The next few weeks blurred into something Emma didn't quite have words for. She and Liam weren't dating, at least not officially, but they weren't just friends either. They were something. Late-night phone calls, coffee before work, dinners that turned into hours of conversation, and stolen kisses. And the more time Emma spent with Liam, the more dangerous it became. Because it wasn't just physical, it was him. The way he looked at her like he was trying to figure her out. The way he softened when he talked about his past. The way he never pushed, but never really let go either. Emma had spent years surviving, but now she was starting to feel alive again. And that was terrifying. Emma was at work when it happened. Her phone buzzed on her desk. She barely glanced at it before she saw the name. David, her ex-husband. Her stomach dropped. She hadn't heard from him in months, not since he had last picked up Oliver and barely said 2 words to her. Heart pounding, she stepped outside the office and answered. David? Emma? His voice was clipped, unreadable. We need to talk. Emma's pulse spiked. About what? About Oliver. Emma went completely still. Because the last time David had sounded this serious, her entire life had changed. What's going on? She demanded. David sighed. We'll talk when I see you tonight. And then he hung up. Emma stood there, heart racing. And before she could stop herself, she texted Liam. Emma, I need to see you. Liam, name the time and place. And just like that, Emma knew whatever was coming next, she wouldn't face it alone. In the touching journey of Emma Carter and Liam Callahan, we discover a profound life lesson. That vulnerability and unexpected kindness can bridge worlds apart, transforming despair into hope and isolation into profound connection. Emma, a struggling single mom racing against time to reach her ailing mother, finds solace on a stranger's shoulder, only to uncover that Liam, a guarded billionaire, carries his own scars of loss and control. Their story reminds us that life's most beautiful chapters often begin in chaos, teaching us to embrace serendipity, let go of self-doubt, and open our hearts to those who see our worth beyond appearances. It evokes a deep emotional resonance, showing that true strength lies not in solitude, but in the courage to trust again, turning fleeting encounters into lifelong bonds that heal and uplift. What lesson from Emma and Liam's tale touched your heart the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story could inspire others. If this moved you, smash that like button, subscribe for more heartwarming tales of resilience and romance, and hit the bell to never miss an episode. Let's spread the hope together.